everyone is asking the wrong question. Will AI replace the UX? That is not the real question. The real question is what happens when AI becomes powerful, but humans stay the same? Because I have seen this coming for a long time ago. So back in 2016, I made a prediction. At that time, I was running my design agency, Revolution. So working on UX, product design, service design. And I told everyone around me, my team, my clients, the designers I was mentoring, around 2030, AI will change everything. Not slightly, not gradually, everything. But I also said something else, UX will not die. So AI and UX will coexist and they will meet at one single point, the simplification of the human life. And remember, this was in 2016, before the ChatGPT, before the Midjourney, before anyone was even talking about AI replacing designers. Today, I want to show you exactly what I meant and why I still believe it more than ever. UI is already dead multiple times. So let me start with something that will change how you think about this entire conversation. So everything is asking, will AI kill UI? Will AI kill UX? So here is what they are missing. UI has already died multiple times. Think about it. We started with the computers, giant machines, keyboards, and command lines. That was the UI. Then the mouse has arrived into the market, the graphical interfaces, clicking, dragging, desktop metaphors. The old UI died, a new one was born. Then laptops, then the internet, then smartphones. With smartphones, everything changed again. No more mouse, no more clicking. Suddenly it was touch, swipe, pinch, tap. Then voice, Alexa, Siri, Google Assistant, you stopped touching the screen entirely. Then you are using the gestures. Then spatial computing, Apple Vision Pro. You are now interacting with the digital objects floating in your physical space. So every single one of these transitions, someone said, designers are finished. Developers will handle it. Technology will replace the need for design. Every single time they were wrong. Because what they didn't understand is UI is the costume, UX is the body underneath. The costume keeps changing from desktop to mobile, from mobile to voice, from voice to spatial. It will keep changing. But the body, the human being on the other side, never changes. They still feel confused, they still feel frustrated, they still feel trusted or abandoned. They still make irrational decisions based on the emotion, not logic. That human constant, that is where UX lives, and no change in UI form has ever touched it. So what AI actually cannot do. So now let's talk about AI specifically. I want to be honest with you. AI is extraordinary. I use it, I teach it, I build AI models into Aspira's curriculum because I believe that designers who don't understand AI will be left behind. But there are three things AI fundamentally cannot do, and these three things are the entire job description of a UX designer. First, AI cannot predict the human emotion in context, not real emotion, not the specific feeling of a first generation smartphone user in a rural town trying to use a banking app. Not the anxiety of an elderly person filling out a government form online, terrified of making an irreversible mistake, not the shame someone feels when an interface makes them look stupid in front of their family. So AI can analyze behavioral data, it can identify the patterns, but it cannot feel what a human feels in a specific moment, in a specific context, with a specific history. That understanding, that empathy is the foundation of UX. Second, AI cannot predict the human behavior in the real world. Humans do not behave the way logic suggests they should. They skip the steps, they misread the labels, they use the product in ways designer never intended. They abandon the flows at the strangest points for reasons that have nothing to do with the product and everything to do with their day, their mood, their trust level. Behavioral research. So watching real people use real systems in a real conditions is absolutely irreplaceable. So you cannot prompt your way to that insight. Third, AI cannot navigate the human psychology at the design level. So why do people trust the certain interfaces and not others? Why does a small change in button color affect the conversions by 30%? Why does the order of information on a screen determine whether someone completes a task or gives up? So these questions lie at the intersection of the cognitive science, behavioral economics, and design. So that intersection is UX, and it is deeply a human discipline. The convergence point. See, now let me tell you the part I have been thinking about since 2016. The question is not whether AI will affect UX. It will. It already is. The real question is where will AI and UX meet? So, my answer, which I have believed for almost a decade, is this. So, they will meet at the point where human life needs to be simplified. Not just digital life, not just apps and websites. I am talking about human life. Think about a hospital. A patient walks in confused, in pain, scared. They need to navigate the registration, insurance verification, the right ward, the right doctor. Every touch point in that journey is a UX problem, and AI will be embedded in every one of those touch points. But someone has to design how that AI communicates with a frightened human being. That is service design. That is UX. So think about the smart city traffic systems that adapt in a real time, public spaces that respond to how people move and gather. So emergency services that reroute based on the live data. So all of this is being built right now, and every human interactions point within it. So every moment a citizen needs to understand, decide, or respond is a UX problem. So think about the manufacturing floors, retail environments, airport check-ins, agricultural systems. AI is entering all of these physical spaces, and in every single one, the question remains, how does this system communicate with the human being in a way they can understand, trust, and act on? See, I know this territory personally. During the same period when I was making these predictions, 2016 to 2018, in between, I was doing the service design work. So I was designing not just interfaces, but entire human journeys across the physical and digital environments. So, and what I saw was clear: the more complex the system, the more critical the human design layer becomes. So AI makes the systems more powerful. It does not make them simpler for humans. That gap between system capability and human comprehension is the permanent home of UX. What UX becomes? So what does UX actually look like in 2030 and beyond? So I will tell you what I believe based on what I have been watching build for almost a decade. So UX moves upstream. The most valuable UX works is the next 5 years will not happen in the Figma. It will happen in the room where decisions are made about what AI systems should do. So who designs the conversation flow of an AI assistant? Who decides how an AI communicates uncertainty to a user? Who ensures that an algorithm's output is presented in a way that a real human can act on? So that is the UX work, and it is more strategic, more complex, and better compensated than anything that came before it. So UX expands into physical space with spatial computing, ambient AI, and smart environments. The screen is no longer the only canvas. So designers who understand the human experience, not just the interface design, will be designing the environments people live and work in. And UX becomes the ethics layer as AI makes more decisions that affects the human lives. So in healthcare, in finance, in education. So someone has to advocate for the human on the receiving end of those decisions. That has always been what UX does. So it will become more critical, not less. So the field is not shrinking, it is expanding into every dimensions of human life. So I said this in the 2016 to people who knew me. So I am saying it now to you. So AI and UX are not competitors. They are the collaborators converging on the same mission, making the human life simpler, clearer, and more dignified. So AI will keep changing its form. It has always done that. Voice, gestures, spatial, whatever comes next, the form will evolve. But as long as a human being has an interact with any system, digital or physical, so there will be a need for someone who understands that a human being deeply enough to design that interaction well. So that is UX. That has always been UX. And in the age of AI, it will matter more than it ever has. So if you are choosing this career, you are not choosing a dying field, you are choosing a field that is just beginning to understand its own full potential. So I run UX workshop on this Saturday. If you need a more clarity, you can attend. or if you need a quick guidance, talk to our team. So they will guide you. So enroll my UX program. Check the link in the description. It's not a sales, only clarity. So I will catch you soon with another meaningful topic. Until then, bye bye.